you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, when the Iron Lady sings it, that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show is a family that loves you, but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as the rest of the world, because you're here to learn, you're here to grow, you're here to have fun, and be entertained. And that's what we do on the Chris Voss Show. We uplift your life. If you want something that's going to, take you down dark tunnels of conspiracy and craziness and batshittery, we're not that podcast. Sorry, but, we're going to make your life, we're going to put some light in your life. And we all need that right now in 2026.
Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind.
Today's featured author comes to us from bookstolifemarketing.co.uk. With expert publishing to strategic marketing, they help authors reach their audience and maximize their book success. Today we have two amazing young men on the show. We're going to be talking about their books, their insights, and some of the funniest they're trying to provide to the world to lift it as well. Their book is entitled The New 60, a comic collection for the ages by John Colquhoun and Andy Landorf. We're going to get into it with them and find out about their amazing comic strips that they're looking to put into syndication and sharing with the world. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. How are you, John and Andy?
We're doing good.
Yep. John and Andy, that sounds like a radio show. Welcome to FM 102 with John and Andy in the morning.
In the morning zoo, yes.
The morning zoo. That was a real big thing back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna take some callers and we're gonna play some Led Zeppelin. We'll be back in right after the sponsor. So, guys, give us your .coms or .orgs, wherever you are on the interwebs, people can find you.
The new 60 comic.com, and 60 is 60 as opposed to spelling the letters out. The new 60comic.com. That's the website. And John, you want to talk about Facebook?
We're also on Facebook, so you can just search for the new 60 on our Facebook page. And we've got we've been doing 2 comics a week for about 8 years now. Oh. On the website there's it goes back a ways, and we also have some little background info on the characters and, why we started the spot and some sketches and different things. There's a lot to play with and look at it on the website.
Now, is this your guys' first book compilation of your comics?
It is.
And the new 60, why do you call it the new 60? Where does that title come from?
The cliche is 60 is the new 40. And we wanted to avoid that. And we just wanted to say, what is it like to be 60 now? It's got a new meaning. It's the new 60.
Well, it also has a different meaning today. As when we thought about growing up and we were 30 and our parents were 60, that was old. Now now 60 suddenly is not so old anymore. And we didn't want to pretend to be 40 or pretend to be 50. It's 60 today, which is, a slightly different thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, can I tell you a secret if you promise not to share it?
Yeah, I won't tell anyone.
I'm 72.
You're 72? No, you're not.
but when we started, it was 60. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see how this is working. Okay, yeah. 8 years of comics and stuff. It is interesting. I remember seeing there's this meme that goes around that says how old the Golden Girls were when they filmed the show. And now, most people are kind of that age and we don't look as hammered as they did. Could have been, there was a lot of smoking that went on back in that age, as I think we all remember. I'm 58. I remember, my grandparents having to stop for, packs of smokes, or not even packs. They would buy like the cartons, You know?
Oh yeah, that's when the Surgeon General was a 3-pack a day man. So
yeah. When doctors approved Camel Lights for cure cancer or something.
There's an episode of Mad Men where Don Draper gets his annual physical, and I don't know how old I thought he was, but you know, he's smoking and drinking all day long in the office, and the doctor says to him, "You're 35. You need to take care of yourself." 35.
I think you know, just even in the 60s when they created Social Security, or 50s, whenever they created Social Security, was it under FDR? Whenever they created Social Security, most people didn't live past 65. So for the government, it was a hell of a deal because we're keeping like 80% of this money because I don't remember what the figure was, but only a small percentage of people hit 65. And now we're living super long. I mean, there's people living to 100 plus now, and we've had 90-year-old plus authors on the show, and they're still kicking it and writing books. And so it's kind of interesting. I think the smoking and the drinking, and it was a hard life back then. You know, a lot of people worked really hard blue-collar jobs, and I think that ground people down more. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how we look a little bit different. We seem to be, I don't know, maybe we just learn to take better care of ourselves in our old age.
Well, I think people are more active and you know, playing tennis and, you know, paddleball and pickleball rather, and bicycling and things. So
yeah. Meanwhile, everyone on the Rolling Stones is still smoking whatever, and
that's the secret. That's the secret right there.
Keith Richards will outlive us all.
Yeah, I mean, we really need to start considering what kind of world we're living behind for Keith Richards as a populace. Stole that off another meme.
Sorry.
Yeah, Blanche on the Golden Girls was 53, and Dorothy and Rose were 53 to 55, wow. And Sophia was 79. She was the old grandmother, but they were in their 50s, man. And we got chicks now that are in their 50s. I'm single, so I see this, and they've done the work. Mainly Botox and
Norman Lear, who did All in the Family and Maude and a million other things. He was still working into his 90s.
Yeah. I plan on never retiring. I got to keep working. You stay around longer if you keep busy. So, tell us about who this is. Obviously, probably maybe targeted to older folks, maybe us Gen Zers, or it's not Gen Z, Gen X, and millennial, and maybe.
The tail end of the baby boomers, and you know,
and then their kids.
People who remember we do one feature we sneak in every once in a while called Then and Now, where we compare what things used to be like. It's a little cheap ways to play Remember When, but you know, things are different. You know, we going into a gas station where there used to be a guy who filled your tank, and you know, if you got a free set of glasses with a fill up, and you know, now you got to stand out there in the rain and pump your own gas. And
oh yeah, what were those stamps? Remember those green stamps?
Oh
yes,
yeah.
What the hell was that about?
But we, going back to what John was saying about Then and Now, we did one a few years back where the then part was all four of the lead characters passing a joint, and the now part was. They were passing reading glasses in a restaurant.
Passing reading glasses. You know,
that's what it's come to.
I remember when I first was sitting in my doctor's office, I think about 8 years ago, or maybe it was 52. I don't know, whenever I did it, and they're like, yeah, look, dude, you're going to have bifocals. And I'm like, I don't want bifocals. I'm never getting laid ever again if I get bifocals. And,
hey.
Yeah, like, you know, I chase those 30-year-old skirts around the bedroom, and single moms need a lot of help. These days at 30, they're divorced twice, and they got 4 kids, and they got men who can't pay their bills. You know, it's good to be a sugar daddy. Let's put it that way. Sometimes it is, but you know, when they look at you going, "You want to be my third marriage?" You're like, "Hell no." I'll tell a couple. I'm like, you know, you're supposed to pace yourself with the divorces. You're not supposed to have 2 by 30. You know, I remember one lady came up to me in my dating group, and she's like, "Chris, I can't figure out why men keep running away from me after the first date." I'm like, "Tell me about yourself." I'm in my 50s, and I've been divorced and married 4 times, and I want to get married again. And they're like, "Honey, Wait, do you think the men are just suicide? Yeah, just living their life for suicide, but it's a crazy time. So there's probably a lot of stuff that.
Well,
that you guys can
there's
tap
a lot
into.
to play with. We purposely we have basically followed four guys. Two of the main guys, and then their buddies. We have them meet at a diner where they discuss the world's problems and figure out solutions, and then two of them are married, longtime married couples. One of them is divorced and dating, so that provides a lot of fun things to play with. And the other is divorced and married a woman 20 years younger than him. Oh. And they have a baby, so he's a grandfather. I mean, he's a father at the age of 60. So.
A new father at 60.
New father.
So he's kind of got all the bases covered.
So you got the ranges there.
We have a black character named Mandelbaum. So
Mandel? What did you say?
Marv Mandelbaum.
Mandelbound?
Yeah.
I don't have any jokes for that. No, I see these are kind of funny. There was one I was going through on your website. You guys have all these great ones. There's a couple hiking, and he says, "See, the hike wasn't so bad. Look, we're almost at the summit." And then they both look up, and it's straight up hike. And he says to his wife or his girlfriend, "I'll say you made it to the top if you say I made it to the top. Deal." And they both turn and walk off. I love it.
I mean, I haven't yet succumbed to the electric bike, but Andy has.
Thanks.
So as you go along, I don't play singles tennis anymore. I play mostly doubles. You make these little adjustments as you get older, and
I watch tennis, so
that can be tough on the neck.
Yeah, especially with those mini skirts those girls wear, and they're always making that sound.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know what that means, but so tell us about how this got started. What was the proponents behind this? Did you guys each maybe work on comic strips before, or tell us how this genesis came about?
I had worked with John in advertising before, both with him and with other partners, and he was always illustrate on the side, and I thought, wow, he's really talented. Seeking a second career once advertising was done, I gave him a call and said, "What do you think about this?" And then he took over from there. That's just said, here's how it's going to work. We need a backstory. We need this. You can take it away.
So we needed to. Andy had a few things worked out, and I thought, why don't we sit down and see if we can figure out who these guys are, a little bit of their backstory, mix up so we have storyline. We know we have storylines and places to go with the characters, and we did that for a couple of months, and then we started up on Facebook first, I think, and then we had a website.
Yeah. Oh.
And then we had to call somebody in their 30s to say, "How do you do a website?" there's a whole week of strips there, comic strips there, probably.
One of the characters' sons is a like computer genius who sold an app for $1 million. So
oh wow!
They always have him to be their in-house IT guy. But then of course the one of our guys, Marv. He's his 80-year-old mom's IT guy. So, everybody knows just a little bit more than someone else.
Yeah, it's hard to be those sort of people. I was always the computer guy for my family and friends. And it turns out you never want to tell anybody you're the computer guy.
Right.
They call you and they go, "Hey, something's wrong with my computer. Have you tried restarting it? How do I do that?" You hit the Windows button. Where's the Windows button?
Yeah.
Just kill me now.
So John's the computer guy between us, and he says, "Here's the link for the Chris Voss show. Don't lose it."
Don't lose it.
Somehow I lose them all the time.
Yeah, there's those emails keep coming. The spam's gotten really worse this year too. So you've been at this for 8 years, and you guys are hoping maybe to get on a syndicate circuit where this can be put through to newspapers and all that sort of stuff.
Well, we decided to start this just as the final death rattle of syndicated comics was, happening. Newspapers are going away, and the comics are getting smaller and smaller. They're taking fewer and fewer new comics. Yeah. But there is a way to, get exposure now because we've got the internet, and you can reach an audience that is looking for, exactly your comic. So we have a pretty big following on Facebook and our website.
Yeah. And people love comics. I mean, I grew up when I was a kid, my father, this is another way back story. We're just plumbing the history here, folks. And it's a bunch of old days. Get off our lawn, man. So when I grew up, my first experiences were riding with my dad in a VW bus van. He had a camper, but this one was just a van. And he really loved VWs. And he had bought a franchise. This was the thing. I don't think you can do it anymore. But he had bought a franchise of working in downtown LA. The newspaper, I don't even know what they were called, the newspaper boxes, but the coin up for the newspaper.
Oh, yeah, where you put the coins in and lift the lid up.
Yeah. And so you put the 25 cents in there, whatever the hell it was, and then you lift it up, and you're supposed to be honest and just take one paper out of the 10 or there. I don't think that's probably the reason it doesn't work anymore. No one's honest. I remember looking at that even as a 3 or 4 year old, and I'd be like, why don't you just take them all? I don't know. I mean, they're sitting there. I didn't understand the concept of morals or ethics because I was 4, and nothing seems to have changed at 60 or 58. But
that, I'm sorry, that could be a comic, just standing there thinking about that for 4 or 5.
And he would drive the car, and it was during the 70s recession, the gas crisis and stuff. So there are a lot of people on the street, unfortunately. And so I would always have to jump out and, drain the change, flip take out the leftovers, put the new ones in, and then jump back in the car before the winos that had passed out on the sidewalks could grab me. And so it was always kind of like a journey there. So we would drive down to LA, and I don't mean to make homeless the butt of my joke, but there was kind of a motivation to keep moving, basically. Otherwise, if you want to talk to your people, like, hey, give me some of that change there, son. And I was 4.
But that's what we found was an interesting, always, things certainly changed from our parents to us and from us to our kids. But there's we went from, TV, we did a thing about TVs from 3 channels to 1 million channels, from not, having to go up to your TV and turn the channel to a remote that does everything.
Yeah.
Even the newspapers, one thing we did think is that this audience that we're talking to, which is basically us, maybe a little younger, a little older, they do remember the comics and the Sunday funnies coming wrapped around and spending an hour, going through them all. And that's something that they remember fondly. So
yeah, my whole experience from that slinging papers was we would have these giant stacks in the car, and so I loved every Sunday reading Snoopy and the comics, and then on Sunday it would be the front page, if I remember it correctly.
Yeah, the wraparound.
And I mean, I would always, that was the whole reason to read the paper. The juice, the dessert was the comics. And so that's what that story was setting up. Because I would just sit there and my mom would always want me to go to church. And I was just a kid, like, 3, 4. This is like my earliest memories. It's just reading the comics. There was Doonesbury, but what was the one that, it was the guy and the gal. She's kind of hot. Blondie?
Dagwood and Blondie.
Dagwood and Blondie, yeah.
Yeah.
And so that in LA, that would usually lead, and then there was Snoopy. Peanuts would always be there too. And I'm a big Snoopy fan. I have all these Snoopy books when I was a kid, and I was a big fan of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, to me, even just reading the normal black and white weekday newspaper, I'd always go for the comics because that would just always be the dessert. Probably the main reason I read it, because I'm like, educate myself, and then I'll get some laughs.
So now on the internet, you get dessert without the meal.
Yeah, you just go straight to the dessert.
Straight to dessert. Yeah.
We're 60. We don't have time to read the paper. Anything can happen between now and dessert.
So we thought that there was this audience out there, and there's there are things that happen every day that are funny. Like you find this great show that somebody told you about, and then you watch 3 or 4 episodes, and then a week later you go say, hey, let's go watch the rest of those, and you can't find it because you forget what streaming service it was on, or whether it's just an interesting new world, and we're not being digital natives, we have to sort our way through it.
We one thing that befalls people in their 60s and up is forgetfulness, right? So we had one of our characters sit down to a hot bowl of soup, and he's just looking at it. Then he gets up and he walks into the kitchen, and then there's a question mark over his head, like, why'd I come in here? And he sits back down, and he slaps his head and he goes, spoon.
Spoon.
Right?
Yeah, we've all been there. Do you do any ones on peeing? Because one of the things that I do whenever I go to a concert and buy tickets, or whenever I look at a thing like Coachella or something, those huge crowds, I'm just sitting there going, I'd hate to be in the middle of that, because I basically, your whole life in your late 50s and 60s, I think, I can't speak for everyone, but it kind of becomes, how close am I in proximity to a bathroom at any time?
We did do one where 3 couples go out to dinner, and then dinner's over, and one guy says, I'm going to go to the restroom. And the second guy says, oh, I'll go with you. And he says, oh, me too. And the 3 of them leave, and then the 3 women look at each other and go, remember when we used to go to the bathroom together?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, you kind of have to take old age with a bit of funniness and laughter. Otherwise, it just makes you want to cry,
You just get miserable if you can't laugh about it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, laughter is the real key.
I've had several, things happen to me that I wish hadn't happened to me. And then I say, oh, that's a good comic, So even when, when your car breaks down in the middle of a road, at least you can make a comic out of it.
Yeah. That's true. At least now I can afford to pay somebody to come change the tire, because I ain't doing that. I'm breaking my back and my knees and my hands and whatever in traffic. But it's there's a lot of interest there. What comics did you guys grow up reading? What were some of your favorites?
John?
Peanuts, definitely, but I was a big Calvin and Hobbes fan.
Calvin and Hobbes, yes.
That was always great. And Doonesbury. I was a big Doonesbury fan. I have a book of comics that Gary Trudeau did when he was at Yale.
Oh, wow.
Really early thing, a strip called Bull Tales, I think it was called. And so that when we first started, I have big library of comics and comic books, and so Andy wasn't as familiar, so I was feeding them to him and saying, okay, check this out, look at this,
Cul-de-sac, right? That one.
Cul-de-sac was another one. Pogo, I used to love Pogo, and that's sort of a little older one, but drawings are beautiful.
Yeah. What about you, Andy? What comics did you grow up reading?
I never was into the superhero stuff that much. I was more like relationship-based stuff, like Archie, and Richie Rich.
Richie Rich.
More drawn to that side of the pow bam crash.
In comics, you have to say a lot. You have to compress a lot into, 3 or 4 panes, maybe? I don't know. Is that what they call them, panes?
Frames.
Yeah, panels. Yeah. We do 4. A lot of them are 3. We do 4 because then we can stack them 2 on 2, and it's easier to read on a phone.
Yeah.
We got a lot of complaints on Facebook when we were, we did say, just turn the phone sideways, dummy. But
that's smart.
On Facebook, there was a mini revolt because people couldn't read them on their phone and didn't want to make them bigger. So we stacked them 2 over 2.
You got to adapt to those mobile times.
That's right.
Yeah.
But to your question, Chris, we grew up in advertising and writer, art director, and so you have to make an idea beginning, middle, and end in 30 seconds or even 15 seconds,
Yeah.
So it's very much the same kind of a foreshortened storytelling.
And even drawing storyboards for a TV commercial, you have to condense the action into just a few frames. So that's very similar to trying to tell the story in a very, scaled down way.
How do you guys work through your ideas and bringing one of these to life? And where do your ideas usually come from?
Stuff that happens to us or our friends. Really.
You're in a world that just generates the content.
Pretty much. It's and obviously we'll elaborate on things and combine things to just make it simpler. But a lot of times Andy will come to me with this long story and it's hilarious, but I'll say we can't do that in 4 panels. We got to figure out a different way to do it. But this morning we do a Zoom session every Wednesday morning for a couple of hours, and that's where we generate the ideas. And I just went down to Charleston to visit my 2 granddaughters, and I came home with a cold, which I do every time I go to visit them.
Oh, wow.
So we turned that into a comic strip.
Yes, and a couple weeks ago, I took my 5-year-old granddaughter to see a silent movie.
Oh, really?
And I said, yeah, Harold Lloyd. I said to her, it's silent, so nobody speaks, but it's really funny. And she said, will I be allowed to laugh? And so it's a really cute thing, and boom, that's a comic.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't think, the audience can't say anything either. It's all silent. Yeah. That would be for an interesting movie. I don't know. But
and then a lot of times we'll realize, oh, it's Friday the 13th, or it's National Cupcake Day, and we can because we don't work, syndicated comic strips work months in advance, but we tend to be work a few weeks in advance, and if something comes up, we can just jump right on it. So we have to take advantage of things like that.
And for instance, we're just working on some World Cup comics.
Oh, so what made you want to put this in a book form? It seems obvious, but go ahead and tell us in your words.
Actually, we were getting requests for a book from our followers, our fans, and they kept asking for it. And so we looked into it and put the first five years of the strip, which now when we look back, there's things we would do differently. But it's a good way for somebody who's new to the strip to see the beginnings of it and where it came from and how the characters have developed and grown. But we also have a portion of that that's about the pandemic, which now seems like ancient history, although it wasn't that long ago. But dealing with that, we wondered whether we should even talk about it in the strip because, as we realize now, it's kind of an artifact. But at the time, there was no way around it. You couldn't just ignore it. So
it was an interesting time. Let's not do that again.
Good idea.
Everything in the last 2 years. The new 60 people can go to the website. They can tune in to what's going there. You guys have a newsletter, I think, that comes out. And they can get the latest one.
They can subscribe on the website. Yeah,
it doesn't cost a thing, and that's our economic model. And
also the book is available on the website as well as Amazon. Although if you look on Amazon, you'd have to punch in the new 60 and then our names because it doesn't jump. It doesn't jump to the top of the Amazon list yet.
Okay, and you guys have good following there on Instagram too, as well as Facebook.
Although on Instagram we get a lot of younger. I guess that audience is younger. We decided to go Facebook because Facebook is where the older internet folks were since the kids were abandoning Facebook, and it's proved pretty successful for us. But Instagram, we do every once in a while get some millennial who'll just comment, "Okay, boomer,"
So we write a blog also every week with the newsletter. The blog describes how we came up with whatever ideas we're talking about at that time. But here's a kind of a funny incident about our followers and their age.
Yeah.
So we wrote one and said, we were playing Jeopardy with recognizing old theme songs, right, from TV shows. And so send us in one, and if we like it, we'll do a comic on it. And what we got was replies, but people texted them back to me. They don't know to do this on the website.
And what do you guys hope is a success for the book and the comic? What would the ideal scenario be of hitting it big?
We'd like to do another book because we have, like I said, 8 years worth of these comics and a lot of new ones since we published the first book. But also we're looking at, there are online syndication models. There's one called Go Comics, another is Comics Kingdom, where people can see their favorite comics. And if you can get onto that, that's sort of the version of, short of getting into a newspaper, which is difficult, getting online in one of these portals is a way you can, get a bigger audience.
Or on the website, if we have enough followers, then maybe attracting an advertiser like Pfizer or somebody, makes stuff for older people and have them, that would be a source of income too.
Yeah. You know what I would do? Are you guys on YouTube yet or do a podcast at all?
We don't have a podcast and we're not on YouTube, although we have put some, making, behind the scenes making of, I do a time lapse of the drawings. We've put those up on Facebook, but that would be a good place. YouTube would be a good place for something like that.
Yeah. The behind the scenes things people really love. I recently got back into photography last year. And one of the things that people really love is they love when you do a video recording of you doing the photo session and talking to them about what you're doing and how you're doing it and why you're doing it. And it really is interesting. At first I thought, this is stupid. Because I remember when Twitch came to me back in the day and they were like, hey, you should bring your YouTube channel over here. And I'm like, why? And they're like, oh, you got, we make all this money. People watch you playing video games. I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. Why would I pay to watch, or, not really pay, but I mean, you're playing ads and I think you can buy subscriptions. Like, why would I want to watch someone else play video games when I just go buy the video game myself and play the damn thing? And I really didn't understand gaming at the time. I wasn't into gaming. I was busy dating women and stuff a lot. And that was one of my biggest mistakes I regret. I don't really regret it, but it's one of those things where you're like, yeah, I should have turned left when I turned right. But it's the same thing.
There's lots of things like that don't we don't get. But there's a YouTube channel of an 8-year-old boy who unboxes toys, and people watch him play with toys.
He's a multimillionaire.
He's a multimillionaire.
Right. Yeah. I hate that kid. No, I'm just kidding. Good for him. He'll probably come out one day and he'll be one of those child stars. My parents made me do that. Right. I was abused. Anyway, but no, people love that behind the scenes thing, and you could do just like little snippets of, you could splice them up. This is not a full walkthrough, or you don't want to give away some maybe your secrets, but I would do that because that can really connect. And here's the thing about that audience over on YouTube, they love funny, and a lot of them are snarky 10 to 15-year-olds. Don't ask me how I know, but they're all in my comments trolling me. So 18 years of YouTube, it's been a delight. They're like, you must be fat because your fingers are fat. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm coming to your mom's house tonight. But that instant feedback with the comments is actually, helpful. We get it on Facebook and we can get this dialogue and getting that involvement with the followers and fans is really, it's very, gratifying for us, but it's also great for the strip.
Yeah.
We sometimes people say, "Oh, do you have a camera in my house?" And we love those kind of comments. But the one that floored me was, I think, the biggest response we ever got was a comic about building a bat house. I mean, what? That's a very out there kind of a thing.
Uh-huh.
But the comments went all over. It was, bats brought COVID. Bats, it was all. But we had. I think normally, like a successful comic will get like maybe 1,500, likes or maybe,
likes.
30 or 40 comments. This had 5,000 comments and 27,000 likes to a comic about building a bat house with your son. So it's like somehow the algorithm went nuts on that one.
Yeah.
There's so many jokes you can tell about old age. It's really an interesting journey. I started taking testosterone a few years ago, and boys brought all my ADHD back. Finally, my ADHD had pretty much disappeared with my old age because my body was just broken down and I don't have time for this anymore. I can't deal with you. But then I got on testosterone, and so now everything's 20 and 30 years old again in my body, and it brought back all the ADHD and that chasing girl stuff. And I was like, boy, I was really enjoying just fading into the whatever, the lazy boy. But yeah, I mean, there's so many jokes. I mean, you have to, man, if you don't have comedy by the time you're 60 and enjoy kind of laughing at yourself, Boy, you got some hard times coming.
And you have to find the humor in. I was talking about the All in the Family,
the theme song.
Bunker.
But the producer of that. See, there's another thing. Forgetting names. But he wanted to do in his 90s. He wanted to do he had come up with a idea for a sitcom about that takes place in a retirement home, old age home. Everybody's in their 80s, and he wanted the title of it to be, "You Know Who Died." That's all I think about, That's all I talk about.
It's going all around me. I don't mean to make light of it, but you have to. Otherwise it would just be depressing as fuck. But yeah, on Facebook, it's like all my 50-year-old friends are just falling over dead one day, and I'm just like, you're just like, it's kind of like that. What was that TV show on Netflix? It was really where they would. If the people would move, they'd see, we can't remember anything. Yeah. People would move and then they'd get shot if they were still moving when the buzzer went off or whatever. Games. Squid Games?
Squid Games,
yeah. It's kind of like Squid Games where you kind of, I don't know. I lost track of where it was in the segue.
What you just said, we did a Comic-Con like that.
Oh, did you?
You got to see this show. It's on, it's got the guy from, who was starred with
the one guy with the one thing.
Yeah,
that one thing.
Anyway, it's great. You should see it.
It's great. Wait, I know the actor you're referring to. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think I read that comic on the face of your website. Is there any pending second books coming out, or what's the lay of the land here going forward?
We're hoping to get a publisher interested. We've got quite a following, and people have asked. And
found this on the web.
You see, Siri, I just said the letters SIRI together, and my phone's answered me. We did a comic about that as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Are you listening? Not at this time. Which is real. That's really good.
Is anyone in here? Nope, nobody but us in here. It's always disconcerting. That's still kind of weird to get used to that. Every now and then Siri will say, or actually I get the Google Voice or Google whatever. And so yeah, there's that going on. Yeah, it's an interesting age. You got to keep laughing to keep it lighthearted.
You asked us what would success look like.
Yeah.
We'd like you to sign up for the comic. That would be successful.
Okay, all right. Everyone, including me.
Yeah.
Sign up for the comic. And it doesn't cost anything, folks. And we need more laughter in life. Life is really tough. It's been tough since COVID, inflation, and wars and rumors of wars and lions and tigers and bears and oh my for the last 5 or 6 years. It's been we've been kind of on this run. But at least that is one. I don't know if you ever did a joke about that, but it is one of the nice things about being this old. You're like, even my mom, who's 83, she'll be like, I'm not going to be around to see the final how this thing hits the wall, so I'm fine. I'm just whatever.
Yeah, we did one. It was a little meta, but it was eventually AI will take over this comic strip, and then somebody said, what's going to happen to John and Andy? And they said, it's not our problem. We won't be here.
I saw this. I don't know what it was. I think it was a video, and they say some AI bot was talking to a conference room full of bots, and they go, I'm glad we got rid of all the humans. Well, this guy's fucked up a lot of shit, and they're always making mistakes, and there's imperfect, and I was thinking, God, that's what makes us great, actually, is our imperfections. I don't know. We get the best stories out of all the screw-ups that we do.
Absolutely.
Well, think about all the TV shows, all the movies that got passed on and eventually got made, and they end up being these incredible hits, and all the geniuses turned it down. So
yeah, what was the story of the guy who he created? Oh man, he was. I remember his 9/11 story. He was supposed to be on a plane to 9/11, and he slept in, but he's a big Hollywood guy. And I think he wrote The Family Guy or
Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane. That first series, I can't remember what he wrote, but wasn't it The Simpsons? But one of them they put in, they launched it and it bombed or something, or didn't get the support it needed advertising, and then it sat for a few years, and then the internet started catching it and running it, and then they're like, hey, we should put that on TV again. You guys took it off. And and now it's huge.
There was a show that they had canceled and been gone for, what was it? The one with the lawyer. It's in a law firm, and
there's a lot of those.
White collar. Anyway, they revamped it.
Oh yeah.
They revamped it after everybody caught up.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Suits.
Oh, Suits. That's right.
Suits.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to bring Frasier back. Here's another one.
Yeah.
There's no new ideas, huh?
That's Hollywood for you.
So when you said it's more interesting to look at our flaws, and imperfections, it's like you think about a comic where the kid says, "Oh, the dog ate my homework." That has much more comedic juice in it than, "Hey, Mom, I got straight A's."
So always the problem, and then figuring out how to solve the problem. But one of the things that we have thought, and it's down the line a ways, but doing, you mentioned Seth MacFarlane, doing an animated version of the comic strip.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of experience with animation. I used to work on Little Caesars, Little Pizza Guy, and I've done a lot of animation as a character designer. And that would be a lot of fun to see what these guys, the way these guys move, because we're always making each other laugh the way we say something, and then we realize, we can't get that inflection in the comic.
Yeah.
You have to either bold letters or underlines or exclamation points, things you wouldn't do if you were speaking, right?
It definitely is an easier way to tell a story, or a tight way to tell a story. I remember when Vine came out, and it was like 6 seconds you had to tell a story in. And I was like, how the hell is anybody tell? I was used to long form YouTube and the podcast, and I was like, how do you tell a story in 6 seconds? But man, it was amazing. There's people that made tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of videos in 6 seconds or less, and they were good. An animated story would be interesting. You may be able to get AI to help you with that. I haven't gotten into AI as much as probably I should, but I was doing some portrait shooting of some really beautiful models in, I think, this year or last year, and a friend said to me, he goes, hey man, why don't you take and animate that photo? I'm like, what? Why? And I'm a photographer, I'm not a videographer. And he's like, it's really easy, it's really cool. Here, I'll show you. And he went into Gemini or Nano Banana or something, and he basically took this picture, and it was a Valentine's Day picture of a really hot gal, and she's drinking out of this big Riedel glass that I have. It's specialized crystal they have different shapes for each variential of liquor or alcohol or wine. And it's a huge bowl, and she's holding it, and she's got 2 roses in the cup, and it looks like she's about to drink it. Yes. And it works, even though from the way I described it, it doesn't seem to work, but it's kind of hot. And he made it. He just put in it's like a 6-second video, 9-second video. And she literally turns, looks, and I think winks or something, or flirts, and then she drinks perfectly the rose water. And dude, I about jumped out of my chair, man. It was like seeing a ghost. But the thing fully animated her in the most perfect sense. And sometimes the animation will miss the lips. It doesn't do stuff right. It's kind of funky still. But man, it was perfect. And then he did that for one or two of my other photos, where the girl's kind of looking to the side, and she turns and looks at you. And I'm just like, my hair stood on end. I was, it was giving me the uncanny valley stuff. But it was doing that all within seconds and creating these little, it wasn't a lot of animation, but it was enough to make you
even just a little bit. I've seen that where people can take older photographs, your grandparents or something in World War II, and suddenly they come to life. I mean, that's amazing.
People love animation and stuff. I mean, I remember I was never a big fan of The Simpsons and The American Dad or whatever, the something guy, whatever all those.
Yeah, Family Guy, King of the Hill, all those.
I kind of feel like I grew out of some. I enjoy the comics, but I'm not like a big fan of long form animation, but a lot of people are. When those first came out, I was like, that's never going anywhere. But I think The Simpsons is still one of the longest running shows ever, isn't it?
Yeah, Simpsons and South Park.
Yeah, South Park. That was a huge hit. I remember that came out. It's like, what the fuck? We have pornographic comics now? So that's where we're at.
I remember the first thing they did, which was a Jesus versus Santa, which was a little thing that they sent around on VH. It was like, the first viral, before there was an internet, it was a viral. People were making copies of this and sending it around. And that was the start of South Park.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It doesn't even have to be that well done, unfortunately, but more fortunately. But if it's funny, people love it.
People love it. So as we go out, give people a final pitch out to order up the book and to follow you guys on the interwebs.
So it's the new 60comic.com, the new 60comic.com, and that on there is a link to the book. And then Facebook, just the new 60 comic on Facebook, and we also have Instagram, the new 60 comic, and
you got about 12,000 followers over there on the Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's growing anyway.
Yeah, that's really good. That is really good. Geez, you guys, 100. Your most recent publish here yesterday at 7:30 a.m. You already got 105 likes, comments.
How about that?
80, 117. You guys are killing it on social media over here. I can't get 5 likes to save my life, and
two old geezers killing it on social media. Can you believe that?
There you go. That is a comic right there. So thank you very much, guys, for coming to the show. We really appreciate it. And
Thanks a lot.
Link where people, I think you gave us the links, right? TM Mold, I forget.
But the new 60
we'll do it again.
The new 60.com. You can never plug enough.
New60comic.com, yes.
Comic.com. Thanks for coming by, gentlemen. We certainly appreciate it.
Chris, thank you very much. Fun.
Thank you. And thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss. Order up their book wherever fine books are sold called The New 60, a comic collection for the ages. And like I tell my 20-year-old Gen Z nephew, when he jokes about, when he makes fun of me for I can't see out of one eye and I don't game and I'm just horrible at player versus player, I'm just like, wait till you get old, son. Wait till you get old. And it's funny, I've gamed with him since he was in his what we call a squeaker, and when he used to be like 12 or something. And the reason I don't know if you guys know, the reason they call them squeakers in gaming is because they have those high pitched voices because they haven't hit puberty yet, and then they talk like crazy shit. They'll say shit about your mom that they're going to do to your mom, and you're like, you don't even know what that means. You haven't hit puberty. You don't even know what you're referencing or what it even means. Like you're just repeating crap that you have no idea. And when you do, you're probably going to be very disturbed about some of the things you said about your mom and my mom and whatever, or maybe not. But he'll even tell me, he'll be like, yeah, I can't game as good in PvP now that I'm in my 20s. Yeah. I'm slowing down. And I'm like, dude, pace yourself, man. Pace yourself. It gets worse.
It gets worse. Well, in the 2,000-year-old man, Mel Brooks said, "We mock the thing we are to be."
We mock the thing we are to be. Yeah.
You make fun of the man, dribbling in the street, and pretty soon you're the man dribbling in the street.
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to always, every time I go get a haircut, I'm like, "Hey, can you get the shrubbery shears and clean out my ears and nose?" Or they don't do my nose; they do my ears. And I'm like, "Yeah." I got my grandfather's curse. I used to make fun of him with his bushes and his sage bushes in his ears of hair. And now I'm here. So now you are here. All right. Thank you very much, guys, for coming to the show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, guys. Great show. Wonderful.